Hi, everyone. I am Camille Miller, the founder of the Natural Life Business Partnership, and I am here today with my co-host, Lee Grabarczyk, out of Soulful Mandelas out of Long Valley, New Jersey. We are here for the Lee and Me show, and today we are going to talk about life's messages. Hi, Lee.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me.
Good morning, Camille. Good to be here.
Yeah. So before we turned on the camera, well, we were talking a lot, actually, but that kind of like one thing leads to another.
One day we'll just record that part too.
I know. That's where all the good stuff comes from.
Unedited.
Right.
But yeah, go on.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, we just started talking and one thing led to another. And then it was like, following your intuition or following life's messages.
Yes.
And really just be curious about all possibilities, which I'm constantly telling the people that I coach, just be curious, just be open to all possibilities and follow your thoughts, because there's a reason the universe gives them to you.
Yes, we began this with how, and things, one of the things that I'll add to this is that as I'm moving forward, sometimes things seem random. They don't necessarily make any sense. It's like, why did that happen? And then in retrospect, it makes more sense. It's like, oh, that was the thing that I needed to have happen so that I'd understand the following. And then it put me in this kind of trajectory that then makes sense. So what we talked about is when the very first song, very first little 45 that I got, I was 1969. I was just a wee thing, but I really, really loved this song, Aquarius, by the group called The Fifth Dimension. And I remember thinking it had a sort of a wildly prophetic quality to it, and I didn't understand why. I mean, it was just, to me, it was just pretty, and I liked it, and that was that. So when, right after that, I actually started getting into things connected to the intuitive arts. I started looking a little bit into numerology. I came a little bit interested in astrology and some other things, and it just sort of was it just kind of opened my mind up. Now, in the lyric, if I really had listened to it, it lays out a bunch, it's just, oh, I like it. It sounds so good. And then, meanwhile, I'm getting all of these words and I'm not really thinking about them. So those words, and we talked about this, those words actually listed a specific time when Aquarius was just kind of beginning. Now, of course, we're going to talk a little bit more about how it relates to right now. But when it was just beginning is when I started doing this full time, which was not that long ago, because the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars was just fairly recently. And I remember hearing that on the radio. Now, it was just an odd thing to catch, but it happened right as I was moving from one kind of career role to another. Not soon after I think we met. And then you then were looking up as we're talking about this, and we're discussing this kind of influence that came into my experience, how this is relevant now. And you discovered that this time, right? What was the dates again?
Yeah. So I Googled, well, first I Googled the song lyrics and who wrote it and what that meant. And then it came up, I think like under it, of what the age of Aquarius is now, or are we in the age of Aquarius or something? And it came up and it was written before this time, which was the most curious part of it, that said the age of Aquarius will start to hit on March 22nd of 2020 and follow through July 4th weekend. And then we recently found, before we went live, we also saw that there would be a second wave that would actually show itself again in December, right?
Correct.
December. So
right. And so what is really interesting about what happened here, and happens for me a great deal, is I'll have something that will come in. This is actually connected to intuitive development too. I'll have an idea of something. I'll just pop in and I'll just start talking about it. And then when I get a response, from like we were having here, where we're talking about it and you're like, oh yeah, really? And they look at it and it's kind of how life, the universe, there's a kind of law of attraction, I think, that's that's an undercurrent here, is saying to me, look over here, pay attention to this. There's something in this, pursue it. You don't have to kind of like drop everything and go crazy. Just notice what's over here. And then that connects with some kind of other idea that brings into focus, I'm on the right track. A lot of these things I would also call these things little cosmic hellos. That's when I have an experience that looks like oddly coincidental, like I'm thinking the same thing at the same time as somebody else, and I call them and we have the same thing. It's like one of those little reminders, like, yep, that's it. You are on the right track. This is correct. This is where you need to go. We're going to give you little breadcrumbs to remind you that these actions, even though they appear somewhat kind of random and maybe a little bit out there, are appropriate to the kinds of direction that best serve you and life. And to do this really has to do, this is why trust is so really important and actually very invigorating, because what we're doing is we're getting out of our own way of just relying on, I've always done it this way, so this is how I should do it today, and that's how I'm going to do it forevermore. No. There has to be some kind of growth, hopefully, that can then see a greater opportunity to what's been going on in life that will create better outcomes, because I'm moving out of just my limited mindset, belief system, structure, whatever, that allow for even better things to occur. And part of this is so important. It's just being alert. Just being alert, paying attention, be conscious. This whole thing where they talk about, we're 2020, just wake up, people, wake up. Waking up means first of all, I notice myself, and then I notice what I notice, and then I explore what I notice, and I have conversations about what I notice that then open up a greater conversation about other things that I may not have explored that then create all of these wonderful possibilities.
Love it. Yeah. I think just being curious.
Yes,
right,
so
important. Just be open to all possibilities. Just be curious. If something pops in your mind, there's a reason why. That's your intuitive. The first thing that pops into your mind is the very most important thing to take notice of before your conscious mind like debates it. Right? That's your intuition. That's your moment of genius.
Yeah.
I wrote down when you said cosmic hello, because I like that. It's a cosmic hello. Hello, here I am.
Here I am. Are you paying attention? I'm over here.
To me, yeah. I
remember when I had I was working for this company, a design company, and this is many, many moons ago. And there was a woman who I really liked, and she was working for a very large publishing house at the time. Mm-hmm. And she was going to, and the person I was working for was difficult, I'll just say that. So she runs into this person, in a very set of odd circumstances. Like, so she's far, far away from this town where this person would be. She runs into them, and then she runs into them again, and she runs into them again. And she's going, there has to be something here. So as much as it was against the grain of what she normally would do, because she didn't really care for this person, it really wasn't quite resonating with her, it was kind of difficult, she said, no, life is stepping up and telling me something. Well, that woman came on board, and then we ended up starting our own business.
Wow. And
she said to me, she said, I kept feeling that life was telling me that I was supposed to do this. When I am in something that life is teaching me, right? It keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. Keeps coming up. It's like some kind of coincidental thing that just keeps occurring and occurring until I finally go, okay, I get it. I'm going to take action on this. And even with the kind of work that I've been doing and even kind of the intuitive stuff, I had been thinking, well, I'll do that later on, or maybe I want to do this other stuff connected to design, or I don't know if this is really viable as a career. Is this something that I can really pay the rent with? Is this something that is sustainable? And I kept putting it off and putting it off, putting it off. And then finally life just kept kept saying, I remember that I had gone through this thing where I went to Rutgers, I got certification and all sorts of stuff connected to design and computers, et cetera, and I was all set to do this, and I could not get a job. I went out, I sent out more resumes, and then I do this little teeny thing connected to intuition, and it takes off. It just took off. It was as if they had been waiting for me for decades. Is he here yet? Is he here yet? Is he here? Okay, he's here. Let's start.
Beautiful.
Everybody's like, how is it that you were able to do this? How is it that you have these different things going on? Why is it that this is all occurring? Because it was what I was meant to do, because I finally paid attention to the things that were working in my life, where I had enthusiasm, joy, a sense of, passion about it. It really was engaging to me. And then boop, off it went. And then all I have to do from there is just kind of just go with what it is that's happening. And I think that one of the things that's really cool about this too is that a lot of times people are looking at careers in terms of goals, right? We got to get the goal, but the goal is a very egocentric idea, because the goal is really, now it's an attachment. Now I realize that, we have to again pay the bills and blah, blah, blah. But when we let go of attachments, we get into a state of allowing that things start happening even faster. And stuff that I normally would have said that, in my timeline, the way that I manage this, I'll get to a certain thing. But if I'm saying yes to life and yes to those things that are coming towards me as I'm able to manage them, then things have a way of really taking off, as they have for me, in a way I would have never been able to create if I were trying to control it.
Absolutely. It's like, it's going with the flow. That's how our community actually happened. Like, I had the overall idea, but wasn't sure how it was gonna all happen. But now I just allow it to happen.
Yeah.
And it shows me the better way all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. We have created this amazing community because others did it and I didn't control it. I just allowed it. Like, I just feel like I'm the catalyst to pull people together. And what comes out of it naturally happens. I don't control it all. It's just going with the flow. I had this great virtual coffee with a girlfriend of mine on Sunday morning who told me, and she's younger than I am, who told me that she's retiring, she's done. And I was like, cool. And she's like, I'm going into this state of more of awareness. Like, I'm not using the word work anymore. I will never use the word work again. I am just going to allow money to flow to me. I forget how she did it, but I was like, that is such a great idea. She's like, I'm just going to feel that I do stuff that I love and money comes to me because of it. I'm not going to attach the money to what I love.
Yes.
And I was like, what a cool way to kind of change that conversation in those words, because the word work has a really hard energy to it, right? It just, you feel like you're fighting with it all the time. And just allowing changes that flow.
And it also kind of, one of the things that is really also kind of a problem there is that it fits into a scarcity view.
Yeah.
And it does this by saying that I have to, and I'm not against people making an effort and following their passion. And I realize there's a certain kind of mechanical things involved. I just want to put that out there in case people are thinking I'm just like sitting around and waiting for it to just, it's just going to come in.
You need the action to get from the work.
Yeah, there has to be
there has to be an action step. You can't just wish it.
There has to be some form of action, correct. Yeah, so this is very, very, very important. So, but when I am looking at it from a perspective of the harder-edged work word, as you're calling it, then what is happening is now it's a competition. And when we get into competition, there's a certain amount of competition that if I'm doing it for fun, like a game, where we're playing and I'm trying to improve my certain skills and get better at whatever I'm doing, that's one thing. When I'm competing in a sense of there's only this little bit, and this little bit needs to be fought over in such a way that that person has to lose so that I can succeed, And then I will then take what they were going to get. I can take their breadcrumbs and I'm going to have them now. This drive towards that kind of point of view really creates some very negative outcomes, because what it's doing is it means that then I have to constantly work harder and harder and harder for less and less and less. I'm constantly trying to push people out of the way and get the other competition, in a way that is like very aggressive. It's a lot of energy. I'm not really cooperating. I'm then self-serving, and then my ego kicks in, and now all my defenses kick in, and then I get into sort of an anxiety, a paranoia about it. Then I get more and more driven, and then the body just becomes just like, screw this. The body gets so tight and rigid that I end up getting ill in that process, because there's nothing. The tree, that is the stiff branch breaks in the breeze of life, right? So if I'm flexible and I'm moving with things by a state of allowing, greater things can come to me, which is kind of counterintuitive to a lot of societal messaging, which is saying that, you gotta like struggle. And unless you struggle, and success means that you have to suffer, and success means you have to be hurting, and all of those messages, which are very, very rampant, I still, when I have a feeling, really are a way of keeping people kind of suppressed. And that when we really think of things collectively, and then we're really thinking that when I succeed, I believe others can too. When they succeed, I succeed also. That we're looking at this from a state of abundance, when we're looking at this state of allowing and prosperity. It's a very, very different worldview, very Aquarius, by the way. I brought it back.
You.
Bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the word work does translate to training time for money.
Yes.
Instead of just loving what you do. Like I do what I do all the time anyway.
Yeah. And I think that when we follow I think that life is constantly saying to me, look, there's a happier way for you here. There's a happier way. Did you try it? Did you make an effort? Did you see, like, maybe there's something over there? Did you turn your head to the right a little bit to see if there's that over there? And then why not have a conversation about that? See where that goes.
Yeah.
It's so, and it's so interesting how fear that for me, earlier on, that I was choosing to go into my fear rather than questioning it. I was choosing to go and have fear dominate my decision-making rather than looking at it from a perspective of, well, what happened if I weren't afraid?
Right.
What would I do? How would I pursue this? What kind of opportunities might be present if I weren't in my own way with this?
I love
that.
And
that's something that I just never simply allowed myself to experience. And I think that one of the great things about growing older, one of the great gifts, is that it does bring into awareness the importance of our time. One of the most important thing I have is my time. Well, I can say my soul, but my time in this dimension, right? That my time is what matters. And then when people grow older, they start looking at things possibly with experience in a way that says, you know what, I really value me. I really value my time. And as such, I'm going to be more allowing, and I'm going to be more embracing of love, light, and the pursuit of the things that make me happy. Because, hey, tick tock, tick tock.
And that's one of the things that are happening now, right?
Yes.
That people are more conscious of what's really important to them, because that's where we're spending time. That's where we're building relationships, but they're going deeper. We're getting rid of all that surface junk that we didn't really have to do.
Yes.
Now it's becoming very real. And I think that's the cosmic hello that you said so eloquently, that it's, listening to yourself right now of what's important. What are you spending time on now? And we have a lot of time. Like the earth just slowed down for us, or at least time slowed. And we have all the time in the world to do what's important right now. But we're choosing to build relationships, right? We're spending time with family, or,
Yeah.
outside in nature, or the things that we're craving right now is what's actually the most important thing, right? And a lot of times it's connectedness with others.
Yeah, that is such a very difficult, different way in which that we're looking at this kind of sense of personal security, I'll even say. So normally with personal security, we're looking at personal security and personal value from a financial standpoint. In other words, net worth equals self-worth, etc.
Yeah.
And I do believe that for people who have lots of money, really it's a reflection of their own sense of their own, and in some cases it's very egocentric, braggadocious, whatever, but they barely feel like, no, I'm really important, see? But I think that with all of us, that the money part of it, although it is, we need to, pay the bills, it doesn't hold us at night. It doesn't love us. It doesn't tell us that we're important to them. It doesn't give us a sense of community. It doesn't give us a sense of engagement and connectivity. That comes from intimacy. And intimacy is kind of the things that you're talking about here, where I've had conversations with people even within my own family, and all of a sudden they're different. They're becoming a little bit more intimate. I'm like, really? You feel that way? I didn't know. And I'm kind of happily surprised, frankly. Yay, shocking. So those kinds of intimate connections and that sense of personal, of being valued, because I'm valuing me enough to value them. I'm valuing me enough to be intimate and risk communicating and being intimate. That's kind of personal value is very, very rich. I remember years ago, someone, therapist, where I was having difficulties with some of the money, and he was talking about like, well, the friends, and he goes, you are very wealthy then. You're wealthy in the sense that you have a great deal of prosperity in your relationships, and from that, you will succeed. And that's true, because in a sense of community and connectivity, where I'm a part of a greater group, I now have people assisting me energetically, through conversation, maybe through some kind of suggestion, to assist me through the difficult times so that I don't have to feel so alone in the process of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And even better than that, I get to share that with them.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing lonelier than getting into a point where you win an Oscar, or you win a great award, or you win I don't know, you get your first billion.
Whatever it is for you, yeah.
And there's nobody there.
Yeah.
To share it with. Nobody who knows your story, nobody who understands where you're coming from, nobody who understood the work that was involved. I think that's why a lot of celebrities really value their friendships from childhood, because those people have known them their lives and see them from different perspective.
Yeah.
They don't see them as a star. They see them as Tom from, downtown.
Yeah. I think this time is going to shift some of those people too. Like
yes.
The people that may feel great loneliness right now, but
yes.
maybe in the world before this, they were out, they were the life of the party. They people know who they are,
right.
1,000 connections on Facebook, but nobody checked in on them during this time. Nobody was there. They had no one to talk to. They're feeling a little lonely. That's this. I think this time is showing all of that too. I think people are going to
yes.
just look as people.
Yes.
And just say, is this what I want?
Yeah, my father had said early when right as we were getting into the kind of shutdown phase of it, he said, well, at this point, he said, the masks are off. He said, you're going to see people as they are. And I said, I got it, but I'm getting it more as time goes on. And in that process of revealing of self is a point of then looking at, okay, some of the stuff that we were talking about, and then looking at the messages, bringing it back to that topic of what is it that I do now with the information as it's coming in. Even this message right now, as it's resonating with certain people, is a kind of working in concert with a greater collective, if you would, of communication, that then triggers something. And then that said, you know what, I always wanted to do whatever as a career. I'm going to do it. I'm going to at least explore it.
Yeah. That's what I always tell my my personal clients, that to view life with curiosity, like just be curious, be open to all possibility. And many times I give them as their first assignment, you know, especially after like a Psych K session or something, is just to be open. I want you to notice the things that are knocking at your door, that are coming towards
Yeah.
you, that you might have just shut out before. Like
Yes.
just come at everything with a very open heart and just be curious. Like, why am I seeing that? Why am I noticing that? What possibility does this give me right now? Why did this person cross my path? Why did this book fall off the shelf? Why, like,
Yes.
all
Yeah.
of it,
That
all
was
of it matters.
right. Even I remember that. I might have mentioned this before, but I remember I was in Doylestown like 1,000 years ago, and I was in a bookstore there, and a book literally fell off a shelf, and I don't know how it happened, and it was Being Alive as Being Psychic, and then I read it, and it talked about how it was really interesting. I remember one of the things in it was a guy, because this is written by a woman who was a channel, and she's writing down some of her events. And there's a guy that was talking about how every single time we would go down a certain road, there would be like ducks that would cross that road, and he always loved seeing them and whatever, and how, you know, and the psychic, the channel, said to him, that's because they were waiting for you. They were waiting for you. They were there because they knew it. It was a synchronicity of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
I was thinking that, so, and she wrote those all out. And then that woman who wrote that was the very first psychic that I saw back in early 80s. And then she was the one who told me that I would then become a channel.
And
so a book falls off a shelf. And I have, you know, I have dyslexia, so reading is not easy for me, but I read that book like
yeah.
It really, you know, I was like, wow, this is just, and I remember as I'm reading it, this is again the cosmic hello, the sense of kind of being, you know, people talk about chills up their spine, or I just, my hair stood up, or I had like tingles. All of those are direct communications of this is true. This is true.
Wow.
And it's like, how, you know, people are like, well, how do I know it's true? Did you feel it? Was it a systemic physiological thing, or was it just a thing?
Absolutely.
In your heart.
Absolutely.
Fun.
Good note to wrap this up on, because I think I'm losing my internet connection. So let's wrap this baby. If you are listening to this show, and we know you are, let us know what you thought of it. Please subscribe to our channel. Let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to talk about. You can contact us on our Contact Us page at thenaturallife.org. Thank you, Lee, for another great episode.
Thanks, Camille.
All right. Now I have to stop this. Hold on.